Hello, welcome back to BlenderSushi Live Noding. In this video, I'm going to take a look at Blender 2.78 drivers. Driver is one of the particular topic that I'm really interested in because it's closely related to animations, and whether you're doing like procedural animations or manual animations, drivers you will definitely find out like driver is one topic that's you will eventually encounter. If you're an animator or a rigger, you're basically driving value using another value. Even when you're animating and you make a keyframe, you're really driving that value using time. And yeah, so in Blender 2.78, the drivers assignment is getting a little bit better and easier. Like it's more streamlined. I kind of like this additional method, so you can have a look yourself in the documentations. So with drivers now we can use the eyedropper tools, kind of a quick way to connect two attributes of different objects very quickly. And the shortcut is Ctrl+D, and there's a step-by-step example here. And here it's also saying that if you want to connect two different properties from two different objects, you want to have like two property panels with one of them get pinned down. So that's cool. And then this is some of the options if you use the Ctrl+D. There's also a video by Joshue Leung. This one you have to listen using earphone at a maximum volume because somehow the recording is too soft and you can't listen using speaker. I wrote on my blog at some point like a few years ago. I was comparing drivers in Blender with Maya, and yeah, this is probably worth reading. While these days, really, maybe I will often use animation nodes to do driver assignment if I were to do anything in Blender. Although in normal situations, you probably want to use Blender's own drivers. That's kind of two things I keep on balancing, whether do it like the normal Blender way or using animation nodes. I want to use both features if I could. Yeah, maybe just let's have a look. I'm gonna close Firefox and switch to Blender. Alright, so I'll hide the camera and the lamp. So similar to Joshua Leung video tutorial, I will give a little bit of example. So let's say we have a monkey and we have this box, and we want to control the scale of the monkey, for example, like that kind of scaling. We want to control it using maybe the x-axis value. So I'll turn on the property. You can see the locations of the x changing on the panel, and I want that value to drive the scale of the monkey in all directions, in x, y, z. So how do I do that? In the past, you will have to right click on the attributes and then you assign add drivers here. And then in the past you have these two options, manually create later, and then you have to go to the animations panel, and then here in the you can change it to drivers, and then you make the like a kind of like a driver setup here. So it's a lot of steps, and you might want, maybe in the past, character rigger will use Python to do that. But now, if you're like you're an animator and you want to be a little bit, you want to know a little bit of technical animation skill and to help you with animating. So if you just want to control the scale using the translate X, what you need to do now is just to, okay, we need to do it like this. Oh, okay, I'm gonna have like a two property panel. I'm gonna hide this, and I will open properties panel here and then properties panel there. So, and both of them showing the transform of both objects. You see, if you are changing, if you're selecting an object, this is gonna change, this property is gonna follow. But if you pin it out, pin, the one that got pinned will not change. It will remain kind of like selecting this object. So I want to control Suzanne scale XYZ using the transform X of this guy, the locations X. Now we can do it really easily. Either you right click and then you add drivers and then select these two. You can now Ctrl+D, do a Ctrl+D, and then you select either one of these. Match indices is if you want to connect like XYZ to RGB, for example, you can do that really quickly now. You can also do all from target, like in this case, this is what we want because it's for the scale XYZ. We want to kind of drive it using a single value or single to single attribute. So, okay, for scale XYZ, we can select all from target, and then now we have this eyedropper. We want to click on the one of the attributes you want to control with. So it's like the drivers of these three values. I'm gonna click it, hover over the location X, and then now they are connected. So, and Suzanne disappears because at the moment the X is actually 0. But if I move the X, looks like okay, there's auto run disabled. You need to have auto run enabled. So yeah, I forgot about that. File, user preference. You need to go under file and then turn on auto run Python scripts. Save user settings. That's really important. Okay, now we have Suzanne scale driven by the cube X locations. We don't have the limit on the driver yet, but if you familiar a little bit with the Blender drivers and do a little bit of research, you know it that you can select Suzanne and then go to the animation layout, and then here you can see the drivers for each of the channel. So normally we're gonna have like the value between 0 and 1. That's the common, like a normalized driver, and you can do quite a lot here. I will not cover everything, but just showing it to you. This is the drivers. We have the F curve and we have the drivers, and in order to kind of limit the value, so maybe you want Suzanne just to grow from 0 to 1, you can do it using this curve. Maybe, let's say, maybe you kind of want to flatten the curve like that. This way it's, the value kind of will not go over 0 or between, it's gonna stay between 0 and 1, and you have to do it for all the 3 values here. So that's driver. Maybe I forgot something, so it's kind of doing that. Okay. This need to be like totally flat. Anyway, that's let's get back to where we were. So that's if you wanna drive the scale XYZ of Suzanne using this box. Okay, that's one example. Let's create a duplicate of Suzanne. When we create duplicates, you can see it's copying the driver as well. Let's delete that. Delete all the drivers. Set the scale back to 1. Let's suppose we want to control the XYZ of this monkey using the XYZ of location of this cube. We can do the same thing. Okay, this property panel is still pinned for this guy, so it's okay. So we can select this guy, and then with the scale, we just Ctrl+D on it and get the all match indices, and then now I just select the location XYZ for this guy. Now this the X, the Z, and the Y is controlling Suzanne number 2. So that's 2 example. Let's do another one, and this time it's gonna do like a rotations. Let's delete the drivers. Scale 1. Now we want to control the rotations of this guy using the locations XYZ. So similarly, we just select this guy and then right click, add drivers, match indices, and then point into the location XYZ of the cube. Now we handily have the locations controlling the rotations, and of course, if you at the moment it's kind of it's automatically converting the value from this guy into the degree for the radian. Let me show it to you to be more clear. So this guy is now driven by X locations, but there is a conversion into radian from this value, which is probably the degree. Yeah, so that's how you do it. You can multiply it here if you want. So I multiply the degree by 10. Copy. If I want to copy the value in Blender, it's simply hovering over the attributes. You don't need to click on it. And then Command C or Control C, Command C, and then you go to another one and then you paste it there. So now the locations of this cube is controlling the rotations of the monkey. Okay, so that's how you do it with the with Blender 2.78. This will come in handy, especially if you have if you are setting up for rigging and you have a controller, and then you want to control the properties of your character rigs. Yeah. Before I'm switching to animation nodes, I will do another example. So it's a classic example. If you, let's say you have like a door or like a kind of like a multiple objects, array of objects, and then you want to control it using a single object. I'll model this guy a little bit really quick, so I'm gonna create something that looks like a door, maybe scale it in X, and I'm gonna put this guy like that. So what happened is I just remodel the cube really quickly, and now I have these objects, and then with these objects perhaps we want to rotate it in a Y. Our this value is gonna be important for us later. So I'm gonna create like a kind of like a flower kind of arrangement. You can do it in differently. Maybe if you want to instance this guy using animation nodes or dupli, whichever. I just want to kind of basically I want to create like this kind of structure, and then I want to control the rotation of each one using another objects. How do we do that? So I'm gonna have to create duplicates first. Okay, this 3D cursor is gonna come in handy. I want to rotate this guy, you know, not like that. I want to rotate him from the center world position. So I will use the 3D cursor, which is this guy. How do we reset the cursor? You can see this guy. We just zero it out like that. I think there's also snap cursor to center. Yep, that will work. Anyhow, and then I want to rotate this guy, so at the moment it's not using the pivot of the cursor. Now you can change it using this option. So we want the pivot point of the transform of the tool to use the 3D cursor. Now it's kind of doing it. That's what we want, and we want to duplicate these objects a few times. Okay, I will use a hotkey, Shift D. If you are doing Shift D before I release it, I can still do like a rotations, and if I want to rotate it in the Z axis, for example, I will tap R, and then if I want to constrain it to Z axis, I tap on Z. Now I can rotate this guy, and I can type maybe 44 and 5 for 45 degree, and then I can enter. Now that's a few steps. We do it in one go, and then we can repeat it using Shift R. So this is a classic example where we really want to rotate this guy. I'll save it. This is a classic door. Here, even sometimes even if you want to animate this guy really quick, we can use the animation nodes for that. Should I show it to you? I guess I can do that. Ctrl+G, objects. Actually, I don't need to use the grouping. I'm just gonna use this get selected objects, and for each selected object, this is if you want to do something really quickly. For each selected objects, you can use loop, tap W, loop through objects, and then do this object transform output. This come really handy for this kind of thing. For the rotations, okay, it's gonna reset the thing. We make sure we only rotate in the I think in the Y. So rotate Y. So that's that way you can rotate all the objects together at the same time. And then maybe set a keyframe. Let's see if I can keyframe here and then rotate it and set a keyframe. And then now we have to delete this. Yeah, apparently it's not keying frame. It's not doing it for all these objects rotations. Well, anyway, I'm gonna use driver. I'm gonna set up a driver real quick. That's what we want to see. The driver we can use maybe just an empty. I'm gonna center the empty. I'm gonna reset this to median point or individual origin. So I want to translate Z of the empty to control the rotation Y of these objects. So how do I do that? We already know how to do it using drivers. So I will open another property panel here. And this guy, the empty, is gonna be the master controller. And translate Z is gonna be what's driving all this guy. So let's do one of them. Let's pin this panel and select this guy, cube number 6. We know that it's gonna be the rotation Y is gonna be driven by the empty. So let's just connect the two. So Ctrl+D is the shortcut, Ctrl+D, and then single from target, and our target master will be translate Z. Now see the Z position, the location Z is now controlling the rotations of the other guy. Sometimes you see it like kind of flipping, but don't worry, it's just like sometimes the value jump into like a 1 million or something. You can see the value on the left, bottom left. That's just not a glitch. It's really, if you're doing it on the 3D panel, it should be okay as long as you don't go too far. You can probably limit the value using driver. Anyhow, that's for one guy. How about for the rest of them? The one way I know is we can easily copy driver. So if you right click and then copy driver, you can easily paste driver. So this is one thing I found super useful. The driver though, it doesn't. I think you need to update it in this panel, animation panel, and then go to drivers and then select one of the guy, and under driver update, click on this button, update dependencies. Now they are controlled by this locator. The rotation Y is controlled by this driver, and like before, you probably wanna copy, maybe multiply the value a little bit. So this driver is kind of is a Python. It's Python code. It's like a scripted expression they call it. You can multiply things over here, maybe multiply by 20, so we can copy paste like we have seen before. There must be a better way to do this instead of copy and pasting. Yeah, so there you go, you see how it's working. You can also control the maybe the locations. Let's go back to the default, save this, save as new file. Perhaps you can also control the locations, but it depends. Looks like the orientations is not really. I wonder why the location is not local. Maybe it's Blender thing, global and local. Let's see, local. Maybe something to do with this delta transform thing. I need to. Oh well, that's another. It's topic for another video, but now I kind of wanted to do the same using, instead of using driver, I want to do it using animation nodes. Let's do that real quick. Delete drivers. There must be another way to do this faster. Okay, now we don't have any connections. I'm gonna save the new version. Switch to compositing. So animation nodes is just another way you can do this. You know, it's an add-on in for Blender, but it's really useful. I guess so. It's worth learning. So for this guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, select it, and we can grab the objects. Get selected object, or maybe object list. Create object list, and we can kind of get from selection, so we get all these objects. Let's turn off always, just turn on this. Okay, now we have all the cube selected. We can simply connect it to the empty. And just now I'm using loop. So for this object, you know, you just object transform output, and then connect this guy to that guy. So now we can control the rotation Y. Just like that, and we just need to get the value of this locator using object transform input. Select the empty, okay, and then connect the two. And animation nodes has a couple of advantage because it has like a mapping. I will show you real soon, but now we're gonna need the combine Euler. Plug that in, and we just need the Y controlled by the Z, location Z, so we need to separate that guy. So separate vector and the value of the Z is gonna be plugged into rotation Y. So this is important. This is the important part. So this is exactly kind of what the driver is doing in the background. You basically have a value or attribute, and you want to connect it to any all other property or attribute or a value. So it's a, and you can, sometimes you want to multiply it by 2 or by 10. Sometimes, yeah, you want to do other stuff, but that's the basic, you know. You either connect value to value, one to one, or any kind of thing you want to do with it. Now we have the connections, and then let me see, is it the Z working? Always, yes, we need to have always on. Okay, now we have that happening, which is pretty cool, I guess. Like I said, with animation nodes, you have a couple of advantage. Like if you want to remap the value or limit the value, you can do that using the map range. So let's suppose you want to limit the rotations. Wait, let's see. At the moment, it's doing it like it's not doing it one-to-one. It's actually using the Euler value. Let's look at the value here. Look at the locations of the Z from 0 to 1.5 is already doing that kind of rotations. You can turn on use degree. Now the value is like a 1 degree, 2 degree, 5, 8. So this is more like one-to-one. But of course you can multiply that as well using math. Maybe multiply by 20. So you get that. And if you want to limit the value and doing those sort of thing, you can do that. Let's say so this is maybe you want it to be okay, -5 to 5. Oh, sorry. Let's look. Let's see how we can do this better. Maybe we don't need this multiply. We know that the value comes from the empty location Z. So plug in location Z into map range, and for the input, let's say we want it between -5 and 5, and the output we want it to be, let's see, rotate Y. Rotate Y. -90 -90 -90 and 90. Let's plug that in to the Y. Now let's check. So -5 to 5. So we just map the range now. And we also have this clamping. It's gonna clamp the output no matter what value it goes up to. It's gonna clamp it. So if we use driver, the curve will be looking something like that. and this is gonna be like a minus 90 to 90. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, minus 90 to 90. This is probably minus 5 to 5. Okay, that's exactly what's happening here, and you have this clamping. You can do this using Python as well. I don't know if Python have map range. It probably doesn't have, but there's a lot of different way to do it in Blender. So yeah, that's if you do it using animation nodes. If you want to give the, so this is kind of using the control for animators. If you want to give like a staggering kind of effect, you can do that using let's see, using like a time and delay node. I'll show you real quick. So there is this node called delay time, but you can use this node to kind of stagger the effects. So if so we have this, and I just plug in between the map range and the combine Euler. If we plug in this value into time, and then we use the index plug into the delay, we're gonna have stagger effect. If I'm not wrong, we might need to use math to. So yeah, that should be working. It's not working properly now. That's because of, probably because of the clamping. Actually, yeah, so probably in order for this to work, we can clamp it, but maybe I need to increase that output, or by 10. I kind of want to see the value for each of the loop here. Debug loop, and check the value here. So minus 5, and we are getting minus 90, minus 100, minus 110. And if we go all the way, we're getting value that's not exactly correct. Maybe we need another clamp. So -5, -5 to 5. So it's more like between -1 and to 1. So -1 to 1. Checking the value. Maybe let's try multiplying this. So that's -1, and then let me, if I use 50 here, one. Let's try 1. -1 and 1. Let's put like 30 delay, 30 frames delay. It's not doing all of them. 10. I have a feeling that instead of map range here, we're better off using like a Euler mix, for example. Mix Euler. So with mix Euler, okay, let's say we want to rotate the Y from -90 to 90. And the factor is between -1 to 1, or in this case it should be between 0 and 1. Between 0 and 1, we can clamp the factor, so between 0 and 1 it's gonna rotate from one state to another state. So I can delete that, save this file, save as. Let's see, the value should go output max, min and max 0 and 1, input minimum -5 and 5, delete. So it's doing it for one of them, maybe. Okay, it's doing it. Set it to 1. Okay, now I think it's doing it perfectly. Multiply by 0.1. Let's see. Let's reset this guy. So -5, and it should start rotating to maximum of 5. Okay, so yeah, so now it's kind of perfectly doing what I want. Let's quickly debug this, debug loop, and check the value. So we have the clamping happening here. That's kind of handy. And then obviously we have the controller here, and the value actually goes all the way. But since we have all this setup allowing us to do this staggering kind of effects, so yeah, so that's how we do it. This is kind of becoming like the offset in a way, or maybe like 3 seconds delay. So it's gonna do it for 1, and then next one, and the next one. Kind of like a gap between animations. We can make it 0.1. So that's kind of more natural. Okay, let's save this. So this is working fine, perfectly. Let's look at it again. So that's the controller, and see, where's the, let's go to default. Okay, cool, so that's working. Let's go back to compositing. What if we want to randomize the rotation? So we don't want to stagger it one by one, because currently the objects are kind of in order. You can randomize it from here. Random number, plug this in, and I believe they are all randomized now. So they will have kind of more random stagger. Maybe I shouldn't do it there, I should do it over here. So I'm gonna multiply this with a random number. So we have like a random delay. So slight variations, but this is kind of more natural kind of effect. It's still doing the staggering thing because of the index. Then we can just plug it like this, doing it like that. Okay, so that's probably more correct. There you go, more random, and the value can be between 0.2 and minus 0.2. There you go. That's basically drivers, and all done using Node. Get the clamping and get a separate vector. I'll clean everything. Hide this. So these objects goes inside the loop, and then inside animation nodes we're really doing all this. And now we have more control over everything. Okay, so this is the full speed. I have to be able to see the controller here. Where is that thing? Okay, there you go. -5, actually -15 and 15. So there you go. So drivers in using normal Blender environment, and then drivers using animation nodes, basically controlling one attributes of one objects, controlling properties or attributes of other objects. With animation nodes, no matter you have like 1,000 or this is gonna be much easier to set up. Supposedly, let's say you have if you want, select this guy, back to the compositing. If I duplicate it and duplicate it again and select all of them, instead of using the create object list, I can group this guy and then get objects from group, select the group and plug that in. Now let's get back to 3D view full. Yeah, so we still have everything working. Although of course the order matters here, so you can see the middle one start first and then the bottom one and the top one. This is probably something you can control by sorting. So middle one and the bottom and the top. Well, you can go back to compositing and just sort this guy properly. Sort list. And again, we have these situations. Sort it by key, sort it by direction. Maybe direction in Z. That doesn't work in this case. Sort it by name. Oh, because they're random. I forgot. We have random here. If they are not random, yeah, that's more. It's more like it. So middle one goes down. Back to 3D view full, and you have that effect. And you can select this. Oops. Select this guy and duplicate it up. Then Shift R, repeat a couple of times. And now all of them. It's gonna be doing that in staggering fashion. So there you go. So that's how you do drivers using animation nodes. Sorry for a long video. Okay, hopefully you find this video useful. If you can leave comments and like this video and then follow this channel. So I'll see you on the next video, and thanks again for tuning in.